a terrific question. How do we win the youth vote? What can the Republican Party do, and what am I doing? You know, the youth vote, I think, responds to leadership and responds to principle. You know, if you think of two leaders in modern times who inspired young people, when I was a young person, when I was in high school, Ronald Reagan was president. And there are a whole generation of young people who were inspired by principled, effective leadership that defended the free market traditions of our country, that defended the incredible legacy of the United States. You think about the last election cycle. Which Republican inspired more young people than anyone else? It's Ron Paul. The man's a septuagenarian. It's not like... I love Ron Paul, but he's not Brad Pitt. It's not, you know, I mean, some consultants say, oh, well, you need some young, edgy candidate. No, you need a candidate who stands for principle and inspires people that they're fighting for something bigger than themselves that matters. And it's part of why I am so encouraged. How we get young people? You know, there's an interesting shift. If you look at the new generation of leaders right now in the Senate, virtually everyone is within a couple of years of the same age. For me, I was 10 when Reagan became president. I was 18 when he left the White House. I'll tell you, you know, the World War II generation often would talk about FDR as, quote, our president. I'll go to my grave with Ronald Wilson Reagan defining what it means to be president. To stand for principle, to do the right thing, and to do so in a way that brings people together, that is uplifting, that is unifying. And what I find so encouraging, I refer to this generation of new leaders as the children of Reagan. Because all of us, it's like if you were a basketball player of a certain generation. When Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player who ever lived, all of us wanted to be like Mike. Now, none of us was going to achieve that. But that's who you emulated. And when I look at this new generation of leaders, I see leaders that are all echoing Reagan. When you hear the communication style of a Marco Rubio, of a Mike Lee, of a Rand Paul, of a Paul Ryan, of a Scott Walker, it is positive, unifying, hopeful. It is appealing to our better angels. It is not mean, nasty, divisive, but it is saying we can do better, we can embrace freedom. That gives me enormous encouragement. It is echoes of Reagan, and I think that's how you reach young people. I also think there are communication tools that can be very effective. You know, having a social media campaign. But look, some Republicans think, all right, I need to hire me a 20-year-old to do the Tweety stuff. Social media doesn't work if you don't have a message that resonates. It is a tool, it is a force multiplier, but you got to have a message to begin with. I'll tell you a great story. All right, so in our campaign in Texas, and you asked what I was doing, so let me talk specifically about the campaign in Texas. When we started campaigning for Senate, it was January of 2011. I was literally at 2% in the polls. The margin of error was 3%. And those were real poll numbers. We were thrilled to be at 2%. We went through a $50 million primary. It was the most expensive primary in the entire country. We were outspent 3-1. My opponent spent over $35 million in nasty personal attack ads saturating the television. Midway through, my wife turned to me watching all those ads. She said, goodness gracious, I didn't realize you were such a rotten guy. And our campaign, by necessity, was a grassroots campaign. We saw thousands upon thousands of men and women across Texas begin knocking on doors, begin getting on the phone, begin on email and Facebook and Twitter, and reaching out and saying, this race matters, let's stand up and turn this country around. And despite being outspent 3-1, we went from 2% in the polls to not just winning, but winning the primary by 14 points and winning the general election by 16 points. Now, a huge tool we used was social media. So I'll give an example. Early on, My main opponent was the lieutenant governor of the state. He's a good man, but he had universal name ID. I had no name ID. And so he followed the standard practice of a candidate with universal name ID against an unknown opponent, which is he ignored me. And in particular, he skipped candidate forum after candidate forum after candidate forum. And we were looking for a way to drive that message. How do we communicate that message? And we didn't have any money. So we put together online a humorous animated video that began, Texas Mysteries, the Chupacabra, a strange coyote-like creature that ranchers in South Texas have blamed for killing their livestock. In East Texas, thousands claim to have seen Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And then there is that political animal, David Dewhurst. Since this race began, he has skipped 9 candidate forums. Name after name comes up. Red word skipped pops on each one. Tea Party forums, Republican women forums, county party forums. Shifts to a picture of a schoolhouse with a Gadsden flag, tumbleweed blowing by. Why is it that conservative Texans have a better chance of seeing a chupacabra than their own lieutenant governor? Now, look, that was designed to be light, funny, tongue-in-cheek. It was not meant to be nasty. And people saw it and they laughed. And they put it up on Facebook and they emailed it to their friends and they sent it here and they sent it there. And we didn't have any money, but doing that was cheap, and we produced millions in earned media, because every newspaper story from then on said the 10th candidate forum that the lieutenant governor has skipped, the 11th candidate forum that the lieutenant governor has skipped, and we drove an entire media narrative through a light, humorous use of social media and through the grassroots. I think the way we win young people is we've got to be relevant. We've got to talk about it, how it impacts our lives. And we've got to use tools to communicate. And to be honest, the number one way we reach young people is through you. Listen, I am here asking for your help, which is each one of you has the ability to communicate directly and to echo out to others. And there is nothing more potent than peer-to-peer communication, than someone hearing from someone they know and love and respect. It matters more than 1,000 TV commercials. And I would encourage each of you, to have fun with it, have a sense of humor, to reach out, tell the free market story. I mean, most young people have never heard it. It's what I'm trying to have a real impact, helping tell that story. And I ask for your help, helping tell the story on your own and helping spread. We're trying to put together content. We're trying to put together ways to tell the story and win the argument. And I'm really proud to have the chance to be fighting side by side with each of you and doing it. Thank you, and God bless you.